All right, let's jump right in. Welcome everyone to another explainer. Today, we're putting on our exam hats and tackling an absolutely massive, high-yield topic for D-Pharma first-year pharmacognosy, and that is laxatives. Look, if you're staring down an upcoming exam and kind of panicking about how to memorize all the biological sources, chemical constituents, and therapeutic uses of crude drugs, you are in the exact right place. We're going to build a really solid structural understanding of 4 key laxative drugs, breaking them down so you can lock them into your memory and score maximum marks.
But, okay, before we get into the heavy science, I absolutely have to share this highly practical and, honestly, slightly hilarious study strategy straight from our source material. Because rote learning dense facts about crude drugs isn't something you can just cram overnight, right? The secret is daily repetition. The actual recommendation is to literally stick a chart of these drugs on the wall right in front of your toilet. Sit there for 10 minutes every morning, review the chart, and you'll have the whole shebang memorized in no time. It sounds funny, I know, but it is a brilliant way to guarantee that daily, focused repetition.
So, here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll talk laxatives and exam strategy, and then we're diving straight into aloe, castor oil, espagula, and senna. Starting with Section 1, laxatives and exam strategy. Let's get those foundational definitions locked in.
A really common fundamental exam question asks for the difference between a laxative, a purgative, and a cathartic. You need to know this. While they all relieve constipation, think of them on a power scale. A laxative is relatively mild. It relieves constipation, but still maintains the shape of the stool. A purgative is definitely stronger. It's going to result in a watery stool. And a cathartic? That is the heavyweight champion. It's the most powerful of the 3, heavily stimulating the desire to defecate. Understanding these distinct power levels is absolutely crucial before we look at the specific drugs.
All right, moving to Section 2, let's look at our first specific drug, aloe, the dried juice.
For the botanical source, the exact phrase you absolutely must write down on your test is dried juice of the leaf. Seriously, examiners will actively look for those exact words. It's obtained from 3 main species, Aloe barbadensis, Aloe perii, and Aloe ferox. Oh, and whatever you do, don't forget the family. Aloe belongs to the Liliaceae family. Just lock that pair in your brain right now, aloe and Liliaceae.
Now, this is where you can really rack up the points. If you want maximum marks, you can't just write it contains aloe. No way. You need to state that it's mainly made of aloin, which is glycosidic in nature. But here's the catch. Aloin is actually a combination of 3 things. You've got barbaloin, which is crystalline and has a really bitter taste. Then there's beta-barbaloin, which you literally get by heating the barbaloin. And finally, isobarbaloin, which is just a mixture of barbaloin and polyphenols. Writing out this exact breakdown shows the greater true mastery of the subject.
So what does it actually do? Well, aloe kinda has a dual personality. Internally, as we learned from our definitions earlier, it acts as a strong purgative. But externally, as I'm sure you know, it's famous for smoothing skin irritation, treating burns, acting as an antibacterial agent, and being used as a moisturizing gel.
Moving right along to Section 3, our second drug, castor oil, the fixed oil. You might also know this one as ricinus oil or arondi oil.
Castor oil is categorized as a fixed oil, but how do you actually prove that in a lab or explain it on an exam? Use the paper stain test. It's super simple. If you drop a volatile oil, like clove oil, onto a piece of paper and leave it out in the sun, it'll vaporize entirely, no mark left behind. But a fixed oil, like castor oil, it doesn't vaporize. It will leave a permanent translucent stain right there on the paper.
For its biological source, castor oil comes from the cold expression of the seeds of the plant Ricinus communis, and it belongs to the Euphorbiaceae family. Again, precision is your best friend here. It's not just from the seeds, it's from the cold expression of those seeds.
If you only remember one number about castor oil today, make it 80%. Castor oil contains a massive 80% ricinoleic acid. This specific chemical constituent is a huge deal because it's exactly what gives castor oil that famous, sticky, thick viscosity. Because it's so intense, internally, it's used as a cathartic. And remember our scale from earlier? That's the most powerful category. It heavily stimulates defecation. But industrially, its thick viscosity makes it an amazing lubricant, grease, and even an ingredient in polishes and printing ink. When people take it medically, it's typically in a capsule or a paste.
Okay, on to Section 4 and our third drug, espagula, the mucilage seed. A lot of people just call this isabagold.
Here's a fantastic little trick to remember for the test. The botanical name for espagula is Plantago ovata, and its family is Plantagenaceae. They practically name themselves. The source specifically uses the dried seeds of the plant. Now, while castor oil was all about that 80% ricinoleic acid, Ispagula is all about the 10%, specifically 10% mucilage. And this mucilage is located right in the epidermis, the outer layer or testa of the seed.
So the real moneymaker here is memorizing this specific hydrolysis breakdown. Beyond the mucilage, it contains pentasands and aldobionic acid. When pentasands undergo hydrolysis, which just means they react with water, they break down into xylose and arabinose. And when aldobionic acid undergoes hydrolysis, it breaks down into galacturonic acid and rhamnose. If you map it out just like that on your exam paper, your grader's going to love you for sure.
Therapeutically, all that mucilage makes Ispagula an incredible bulk laxative and demulcent. Because it forms bulk and really soothes the digestive tract, doctors prescribe it constantly for chronic sensitive bowel issues. We're talking chronic constipation, chronic diarrhea, dysentery, which is when there's blood or mucus in the stool. Plus, it acts as a wonderful, comforting, soothing agent for really painful conditions like piles and duodenal ulcers.
And finally, Section 5, our fourth and final drug on the syllabus, senna, the ancient herb. Pay really close attention to the exact plant part here. Senna consists of the dried leaflets, not just leaves, guys, but leaflets of Cassia acutifolia, and it belongs to the Leguminosae family. Don't mix that one up.
And that brings us to our final chemical profile. The main active constituents in senna are actually named after the plant itself. Sennasides A, B, C, and D, which are all glycosides. It also contains free chrysophanyl and imodin. Oh, and here's a highly specific detail to memorize. There's mucilage present in the epidermis of senna leaves. If you react that mucilage with a chemical called ruthenium red, it's going to give a distinct red color. Mentioning that ruthenium red test proves you really know your stuff.
Therapeutically, senna functions as both a laxative and a cathartic. Its main mechanism of action is actually to cause intentional irritation in the large intestine. That irritation is exactly what stimulates the bowel movement. But because that can obviously cause cramping and gas, senna is almost always prescribed alongside carminatives. Carminatives are medications designed specifically to help you pass flatulence and gas, preventing all that uncomfortable buildup.
And just like that, we've wrapped up this rapid-fire exam review. We covered a ton of ground today, distilling everything down to exactly what you need to pass. But before you close out of this explainer, I have a challenge for you right now. Without looking back, can you name the botanical families of aloe, castor oil, ispagula, and senna? Think about it. If you're drawing a blank on any of them, well, it might just be time to draw up that bathroom chart and start your daily 10-minute review. Keep studying hard, stay focused, and you are absolutely going to crush this exam. Thanks for hanging out and reviewing with us today.